Hi, dear friends. So, here I am to conduct another special interview for you. And I'm Dr. Mac. I welcome you to this particular interaction. I'm your radiology faculty on Marrow. And today I have with me Dr. Angad Rai. And Dr. Angad has scored a fantastic score of 221 in this FMG exam, which was conducted recently. Dr. Angad, welcome to this interview and heartiest congratulations. How are you feeling right now?
Namaste, sir. Yeah, I am literally on cloud 99, not even 9. It feels
On
really.
the moon, can I say? Chandrayaan has just
Yes, sir.
landed.
Along with the Chandrayaan, yeah, most probably, yes.
Great, great, great. Tell me, did you expect this kind of a score? You must have appeared for grand tests, mock tests going into this exam. What kind of a score did you expect? Did you expect this kind of a great score in this exam?
So to be honest, like when I was giving the grant mocks and all, like example, I gave for two for Marrow, and then a couple another. Like I scored around 220, 240, and in one also I was able to score 270. But then it gave me a very good hope. But then after the exam, when the actual exam happened, I was like, bhai, I just want to get passed because the exam was pretty, in the tricky side, to be honest.
Okay. And I'm very happy to note that this is another interview that I'm conducting of someone who has cracked this daunting exam in the very first attempt, right? And that's really a hats off to you for an exam which has a passing rate of just early double digits, right? You have seemed to, been able to conquer it in the very first attempt. So tell me, Dr. Angad, tell me a little bit about yourself. You are a part of the Marrow Plan C family, is that right?
Yes, yes, sir.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where do you live? From where did your undergraduate course?
Okay, so my name is Dr. Angad Ranjit Rai. I am from Punjab, and I have done my MBBS from Philippines, which is Davao Medical School Foundation from Davao City. So,
Okay.
I have done my and I have graduated from 2022 in November, and I was able to secure an overall rank of 3 in the whole MBBS curriculum as well, 86%.
That's fantastic. That's really fantastic. Tell me, when did you start using Marrow as a platform for your preparation?
Sir, actually, to be honest, I was not well updated about Marrow until my third year, half of my third year. My friends, like actually, my cousin's sister, she also she was also using Marrow. She's already a graduate and she's preparing for NEET PG right now. She suggested me that it's quite a good platform. When I was actually confused what to start with because due to lockdown and even though the syllabus was going on with respect to Zoom, but the I was not able to capitalize in my theory that well. So then my friend suggested me start Marrow once, and I started with medicine, and that's the next is just history. I fell in love with Marrow.
So you started watching Marrow videos and you took up the first subject, that is medicine.
Yes, sir.
So tell me, what is your take on Marrow videos? Have you watched all subjects, and how did you feel about the overall concepts and the content and the clinical perspective that you get from Marrow videos?
Yes. So with respect, I started it when the edition 5 had recently come in, which was mostly also with added up with clinicals as well. To be honest, the reason why I fell in love with Marrow is not because of just the concept. Because, like for example, even with medicine, when Dr. Rakesh sir he teaches, he does not teach just particularly medicine. It brings back all of the things. So then that was such a huge advantage that I was able to correlate with many subjects, which I was not able to do with my university exams. Like I was just once I was studying medicine, okay, but medicine ka ek topic padna, I just had to study one topic, that's it. But that was such an advantage, not with just medicine, with multiple subjects, with the correlation was the biggest fact that I was able to revise more, and which actually made me recall, like as I said, that this exam was more clinical. I mean, if anyone was preparing for this exam, then like many people have that PYQs, and to be honest, I would literally count 15 or 10 PYQs which came in this exam, to be
That's
honest.
all. Okay. So speaking of Marrow videos, tell me, as you said, you have watched most of the subject Marrow videos. Tell me, who's your favorite faculty on the Marrow platform and why so? Who is someone who has really appealed to you when you looked at these videos?
So, if I would say your name right now, then people will be like, "Yeah, you're in the front." That's what I'm saying. But not honestly, the way you made radiology simple. Because when I used to study radiology through the books, it was quite like black and white. I could not understand that well, but then because of just not only the animation and all, it made quite simple, even though it was a short subject. But my key was key whenever I had a hard day or hard time, I used to start and try to complete a small subject, because it would be our mind works in that way that okay, we completed something, it's an accomplishment. Right. And then I would really thank Dr. Sakshi for OB-GYN. The
Great.
way it's like it was not like studying, it was like watching a movie, to be honest. It was that interesting for me.
Great, fantastic. That's very good to know. Dr. Angad, tell me now that this was your first attempt, so you were already pursuing your undergraduate curriculum, and at the same time watching these videos. And so, what did you use for taking a notes of these videos? Did you make your own notes, or did you use Marrow notes? How did you go about it?
Doc, as I said, like I started a bit late. In third year mid, I started. So then, when I started in third year mid, as everyone says, it's best to make your notes. So I started making my notes, but then, as I said, like I was not able to complete medicine because it was comparatively a bit vast. So I was able to, like, what I did was, like, in our college over there, it's based on 2 months curriculum. Like, we have 2 months for each subject, like in DMSF. So I used to complete that on that basis. Like, for example, I have 2 months for surgery. Within 2 months, I want to finish all the videos. I want to do the Q banks. I want to do the PYQs. That was my approach. So by the ending of fourth year, I was not able to make my own notes at the by the end of the month. So I purchased Marrow notes that time, which was quite useful. Like, I could add my own notes, and like if anything was there in the video which was, like, not mentioned in the notes, and I felt it was important, I added that up.
Okay. Now tell me, you've seen your main course videos in Marrow. Yes. So you started with edition 5, then we moved on to edition 6. Did you use revision videos for in your preparation strategy, and when did you use them specifically?
Doc, like during my third and fourth year, I did not use the revision videos. But, like, for example, like, we have our comprehensive exams in DMSF, in which the whole syllabus comes. So I used, and then we had a gap of 6 days or something like that for each subject. So that time was a time when I used to use the revision videos, because they sum up all the important things which is like must know, must know, must know. So I used that. And with respect to FMG also, I did the same, sir. I was not able to complete the revision videos, but then I didn't use revision videos for the minor subjects, because I was able to complete the main lecture videos. So what I did was, like, as a strategy, like for medicine, for OB-GYN, and because Dr. Sakshi also told that those who had did previously editions, you can just use the revision videos and you can add it up to your notes. So I did the same as they instructed.
So conventionally, it is said that suppose you finish the main set of videos for the major subjects, for the minor subjects, you don't get time, you go for the revision videos. What you did was exactly opposite, right? Yes. You watched all the short subjects from the main videos, but for the major subjects, because you'd already seen those old editions, you switched to revision videos. So the point here, students, is that there is a separate or a unique plan that works for each one of you. There's no one simple straightforward rule to success. You can cater, you can tighter your own strategy as to what best suits you. Now that we have discussed these videos and notes, Dr. Angad, tell me, how did you use QBank in your preparation?
So actually, what I would suggest to everyone is to start it as soon as possible, and keep a day of 1 day gap, because, like, in one of the videos also, which I could correlate really well, is that once we watch the lecture video, we are so fresh about the information that mostly we won't get things wrong. If we do it the next day or then at the third day, it forces our mind to study more and think more harder. Okay. So that is what I used to do. I used to keep a focus on that. And if there are some topics, like, like, which are not explained in the which are not explained in the video, I would have taken the highlight of, like, example, Marrow has a function, right, that they highlight the important thing. If there are 3 paragraphs, they would just highlight it bold that this is the most important, and I would make a note of that.
Okay, so then, which means that you finished the videos, took some gap in between, and then went to QBank. Is that right?
Yes, doc.
So then that would help you reinforce a few things that it is sort of a revision, a spaced revision maybe, and you also add up some new points to it.
Yes, doc. It would be like more, it was like kind of tough for me, because it would be easier if I would have done the same day, but it would make me recall that for longer.
Got it. So you basically challenged yourself with a space of a time in between, and that helped you revise and remember things better. Great. Did you use custom modules when you were dealing with the QBanks, and how did you use them?
Doc, I used the custom modules at the end, to be honest, like with the FMG preparation, because I had an incident in the middle of my preparation that in my iPad, I lost all the data. So whatever notes I made, everything was gone. So that was like in the month of May, and this thing happened. So the advantage of that, that's why I was really lucky that I did the PYQs. Mostly at the end, I started focusing on PYQs, and I had
Okay.
bookmarked those PYQs, which were like, like comparatively things ki, I have to watch this again because it took me more time to think, or I might have done this wrong. So
Okay.
what I did was in the custom modules, I marked the bookmarks and whatever was related, which I needed, I was able to retrieve at least out of the 100% which I lost, I was able to retrieve at least 75%, which was really, I was really thankful for the custom thing.
That's great. That's fantastic. You mentioned bookmarks. So tell me,
Yes.
how many bookmarks did you actually place when you first went through QBank? Rough, rough,
So
rough ballpark.
the last, if I remember, it's in three digits, around
Okay.
700 to 900, sir, for sure.
And then as you went ahead, did you bring the number of bookmarks down? And
Yes, sir.
what strategy
I
did you
started
use
doing
to
that.
eliminate some bookmarks?
Yes, sir. Like ye to aata hai, so I knew this answer. So then I was like, I'll just remove, because it even that, so that at the end point, that 5 seconds also really matter when you're checking
Right.
that question.
Correct.
So I
Correct.
skipped that out.
Correct. Correct. So I'm going to come to this time management strategy towards the end. That is very important, and you have executed it very well. So I'm going to come to that. Tell me, how did you use Marrow grand tests in your preparation? When did you give the first grand test?
Sir, I gave my first grand test after the recall series of July 2023 January exam.
Okay.
So the reason why I gave the first one was because when I gave the first, like during my preparation, I gave the first, when they gave the recall exam also, without watching that, I had a good moderate amount of score. I got like around 201, something like that,
Okay.
in the recall exam. So then I felt like, let me give the grand test. And my still many subjects were not complete. At least 14 to 15 subjects were not done. But like me,
Okay.
I started for like properly. So then I gave the first grand test, and it was kind of demotivating, because, but even one way motivating, because there were some questions which I answered which subject I hadn't started. So it gave me a confidence that yes, some clinical thoughts, logics which I had were working. So I
Right.
made it a habit that I at least I would have done one grand test at least 1 month, and I skipped one grand test in the month of February, because that time it was quite hectic for me. And giving there was one thing in the FMG thing, which in the Marrow thing, is that the 300 minutes you have to give it together. They don't give
Right.
it like 150 minutes. So you have to sit together at the whole time. And I used to do that at night. So then I was like training my mind, even though if you're feeling tired, try to feel fresh, try to feel fresh, try to feel fresh. Because doc, the main thing that when we are studying, like as like when we're doing it online, the main thing is that you can't ask someone, or no one can check on you. Ki, how are you doing? You have to be
Right.
honest and faithful to yourself. So
Right.
I was like, if I sleep less today, or if I'll give hard work more, tomorrow I will only be proud of, and my parents will be proud of what I have done.
Right, right. I'm going to this grand test. I'm going to probe you a little bit more on the grand test, especially how you assessed them. Before I get there, you said you gave your first grand test when you had not even touched or covered or completed almost 13 to 14 subjects in your
14
preparation.
subjects, yes, doc.
It must have been daunting, must be daring to give the first grand test. But do you think it was the right thing to do, even when you thought that you are not well prepared?
Definitely, doc. Definitely, because doc, then I have an awareness that, like, doc, because there are two things which can happen. Either if a too much good result comes, then you start be like, I know everything, and that's a bad thing. And if you give a grand test, then it's like, doc, it's like a good mental preparation of what can happen in the actual exam. Like, doc, I can literally say the reason why I have done like this like, a fine result this time is because of the grand test. Because the this exam was literally, doc, like the first paper was very hard. Like for me, I was also like, yeah, it was very hard. Second paper was good, but the
Okay.
reason I was able to score both of them fine was because of the grand test. Because I had that, okay, if there is a hard question, I don't have to shiver, I don't have to think about it twice. I took at least two readings of a question, like how like even in the how to solve, the Marrow has videos, right, like how to solve a question. So they always say it's a big question, check it from the down, then read. So then that really helped. And if I
Right.
wouldn't have done the grand test, I would not be mentally prepared to give a such tough exam.
Right, right. So a very important point to note for those of you who are out there, remember, it is these small things that actually differentiates real achievers, from those that who don't really do that. For example, now when you're not prepared with a few subjects, those of few of you may think that there is no point giving in a grand test, but those like Dr. Angad would actually look up to it as a challenge to actually try and apply whatever they know. If you get a low score in one of these grand tests, a few of you may actually feel blue and get depressed. But those like Dr. Angad, may actually look at that low score, use it as a motivational point or an inspirational point so that they can do better going ahead in the next test. So this is really a very important thing from what Dr. Angad has done here, and he has told us what he has done. So now, Dr. Angad, tell me, you're done with a grand test. You have completed this test. Now, what do you do once you're completed a particular grand test? How do you work on it?
Yeah. So, Doc, basically, as I said, that it used to take at least, I used to get a 6 hours exam done in around 4.5 to 5 hours.
Okay.
That was my usual limit, and I used to check the answers. Then what I used to do was the next day, because I had classes. So the next day, what I used to do was that at the end, like even if I had a good amount of time, at least half an hour or 1 hour, the first week, like I used to divide the 300 questions in the first week. Like for say, if you can divide it by 50, you can at least do it in 3 days, or you can do it in shorter, in at least in 6 days. Sorry. So I used to do that like that: 50 questions, 50 questions, 50 questions. And if in days where I was not able to do, I used to make sure that if example in one grand test, whatever I have done wrong, or like I used to make a star. There is an option like a star mark, right? Like you can check this
Yes.
later after the exam. So I used to do that. If I'm not able to review the whole grand test, I'm going to do this for sure, so that I'll not do this mistake again.
Yeah, so you mentioned about putting a star mark there. Did you use the GT graph or GT analytics, that the feature that the grand test section has, and how did it work to your advantage?
Doc, the in one word, I would say that it helped me reduce my overconfidence, because like I used to feel like pharmacology was good for me. I used to feel OB-GYN was good, and then at the end of the day, I used to see that 10 questions, I made six questions right and 4 questions wrong in those subjects. So then I realized, okay, I have to work more hard and don't take it lightly. So and then like for example, like I used to do like if I give an example, I finished dermatology by the month of February, and I really love the subject. So whenever I used to give the even exam on in March or April, even though if I did not like revise it once, my concepts were clear. That was the main thing. So then even I was able to do that, and most of them went right during the grand test. So it made
Okay.
me realize that I have to clear my concepts rather than mugging it up or ratification.
Right, got it. Tell me, towards the end of the exam, so very close to the exam, how many grand tests did you give in the last 1 month just before your exam?
Doc, I gave, there was a one in July. The first week was of Marrow.
Right,
Then in the second,
right.
I gave three grand test, Doc.
The grand test, right? How was your score in the Marrow grand test that you gave? And how does that compare with the score that you have got now in this exam?
Doc, I like people will think that I'm joking, but ironically, it is exactly almost the same. I got 224, I guess, in the exam. I
In
remember
the
what
Marrow GT that you gave.
Yes, I'll send the screenshot also. Literally, I got 224 in that exam, and
Yeah.
I had given 3 exams, Doc, during that time. In one, I got 224. Sorry, sir, four. I gave. Yeah, I gave 4 exams. In the
Okay.
first one, which was there, I gave one in one of an academy in which I
Right.
scored 251.
Right.
In the Marrow one, it was comparatively tough. So I was able to score 224. And in one of the same academy one, I was able to score 272, which was now
Tell
I feel
me,
was too
the score,
overconfident.
the score that you got in Marrow was 224, and now the
Yes, sir.
score that you have is 221. Would
Yes,
it
sir.
would it be right to say that these Marrow tests would mirror the type of questions that you would expect in the final exam?
Yes, Doc, I would definitely say that because, like the level, as I said, like the two grand tests which I gave was comparatively easier, but the
Right.
Marrow one made me think a lot. Like as I said, like in this exam, this was the advantage actually of the Marrow exam, because during the Marrow exam, I had to think 3 times if it was a tough question, but in this exam, I was able to do that 2 times.
But then in the actual exam, you found that it was quite similar to one that you gave in Marrow. Is that right?
The level, yes, definitely, Doc.
People would sometimes say and complain that no, this Marrow grand test is quite complex, right? It takes a lot of thinking, and the actual exam is not so. But you are saying the exact opposite one. You're saying it's
Doc,
very close
now
to the
people
exact exam.
who have given this exam, they might agree with me, who has given the Marrow exam, which was recently the first week of July. I guess only one
Okay.
FMG Grand mock was there.
Okay.
So they would definitely relate the level was comparatively similar.
Okay, now we are discussing, we have come to a very important point, and that is the level of the exam, the complexity of the exam. And I'm going to ask you a very pinpoint question. There was a time when they used to say that, yeah, FMGs don't require a very in-depth or a very comprehensive or a very conceptual kind of a knowledge. They used to say that you need to study just the basics, go into the exam, mug it up, right, and you go and apply it in the exam, done. That's how FMG. But something more complex is reserved for INI set or NEET PG. Tell me, you've just cleared FMG in the first attempt, do you agree with this?
Definitely not, Doc. 100%, 120% definitely not, Doc. I
Okay,
can
so
justify this very easily, Doc, because even when I gave the first time, my seniors were like, "It is easy. You can do it. If you perform well in MBBS, you can do it easily." I would not agree with that completely because yes, definitely, if you have done properly MBBS, it will be comparatively much more easier for you. And there are some people who will actually start preparing after MBBS. Doc, to be honest, like the one thing which actually I guess helped me more was like I was like, why are you differentiating first of all FMG and NEET PG?
true,
If you
true.
my logic was like if I prepare for NEET PG, obviously I'll crack the FMG exam. The
True.
syllabus
True.
is same and the board is also same, so why are you expecting them to be lenient on you?
Exactly. Exactly.
Sure.
That's a good point. And now this is coming from the horse's mouth. Mind you, I am not saying this. You have cracked this exam. This is what you think. Tell me, how did Marrow then help you to build on these concepts, these clinical scenarios, and how did it help you in the exam? Given that you have said that this exam was quite a conceptual one, it was not
Yes, sir.
easy to answer, the questions which were there in the exam. How did Marrow specifically help you do that?
So the best part I would say is like even during the video, rather than just talking about just the questions, even during the video when doctors explain about this is a previous INI-CT question, this is a previous NEET PG question, this is a previous FMG question. Even though if you will open the FMG, sorry, the NEET PG videos, they will also mention FMG because they know that there can be a correlation. So I used
Right.
to focus on that. I'm like, if this has come in this exam, it can definitely come here. And doc, one way of learning which I did was how I was able to, convert this vast syllabus into concise. Is I used to imagine myself as the examiner. I'm like, for example, if there would be a paragraph, I would write this paragraph of, okay, in this paragraph, what can be a question? Because if there are many things because we learn a lot, and out of this what we learn, the important part will be a question which the doctor also can think because we also have the same brain. So I used to
Right.
eliminate, okay, this question they're not going to talk about. I didn't read about that, and luckily that questions never came also in the exam.
Right. So there's a type of learning which is passive learning, where you sit back on a chair, relax, and just listen to what someone is saying. That is a didactic form of learning. But the kind of learning Dr. Angad is basically telling us about here is that he's looking at a topic, he's getting into the shoes of an examiner, and then trying to imagine what kinds of questions can be framed on that topic.
Yes,
That
sir.
is absolutely brilliant, and that is a very good way to learn things actively. Dr. Angad, you were telling me something about the 5% rule, right?
Yeah.
Something very interesting. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yes, sir. So as I was saying, I would like to credit that to my father because since the beginning, even when I was preparing for MBBS, he always gave me Angad the 5% rule, which was that like always aim 5% higher. Either if you're aiming for 100%, he used to say me -5%. That is your result. That is what he always said. Either it is if you aim for 100, you're going to get 95. If you aim for 90, that's why like even my juniors when they used to tell me ki Angad bhai, it's hard for me to pass. I'm like, the reason why you're not able to pass is because you're just aiming for passing. Like for us in DMSF, the passing mark was around 75%. So once you cross 75, then only you pass. So I told them, why are you aiming only for 75? Because if you're aiming for 75, you're going to get around 70 range only. So I told them, aim always high. Because when you aim always high, doc, that's what even I did. I was aiming for high. Like even like when my friends were like, I was like, I'm aiming for top. I'll agar aage. Like I was like, I'm aiming for 260. I'm aiming for 270. Because if that does not come also, but eventually I'll pass the exam anyway. And people used to say me, doctor, why are you like you're studying for this exam? It's just even if you get 150, if you get 300, it's the same. I was like, sir, it's not about scoring in this exam. I feel that if you get a better result, it simply means that your concepts are more clear. Because after FMG, you have to give NEET PG, you have to give the further exams. So if your concepts are clear now, it will be much more easier for the future. That was my
That,
thinking,
that's
sir.
that's brilliant, friends. They always say you should always aim higher. Then that is the right way to reach your target. And this 5% rule is indeed very interesting, Dr. Angad. And I'm sure your father is very proud of you, the way you have performed in this exam. And I can also say this, though I'm presuming this, I'm very confident when I say this, that I also expect you to perform brilliantly well in the exams that you appear after that. I
Thank you.
can say this with confidence by the way that you have been describing all your preparation strategies. Dr. Angad, tell me, what specific strategy did you use using Marrow as a platform for your last minute revision? In the last 15 days, how did you use Marrow as a platform for revising for this particular exam?
Doc, honestly, I stopped everything, and the only thing what I was doing was PYQs.
Okay.
Because but then I would honestly say that this is one of my mistakes because this has been the trend that you go for PYQs, and everything is going to come by. But then this
Okay.
trend, I guess, with this exam has been broken, because literally I could
Okay.
count around 15 PYQs only.
That's all.
So
That's all.
yeah, that is what I feel, sir, like, to be honest, like,
Okay.
or I can recall that much right now, because
Okay.
I felt that mostly everything was basic clinicals. They were asking you like this. On community medicine was, sir, totally in a different level, like the
Okay.
things which they asked and what usually come completely different. So
Okay.
I would, if I had another chance. But actually, sir, that's what I did. Like, in the last 10 days, everyone told me this only, like, do Angad, do PYQs. From Marrow, I did the PYQs, because Marrow as a platform has all the PYQs, and I didn't have to run anywhere or get any PDF or something to search this and that. So what I used to do was, I used to shift my to FMG, the FMG mode, and I used to get the
Good.
FMG PYQs. And then when I used to shift to the NEET PG mode, I used to get INICT as well as the NEET PGA ones. So then that was quite easy. But sir, I made sure that I used to do only the PYQs once, if I done a thorough reading properly.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
even for like questions like, sorry, for subjects like INICT, sorry, not INICT, for subjects like anesthesiology, I gave in the last 6 days at least 8 hours, which I feel was a mistake. Like, I could have done much more better, but that gave me because, sir, what I felt was that people should not think about the broad picture, like on the result. Every day is a result. That is what I feel, sir. Like, I used to make a chart in which I used to study, sir, with the base of Pomodoro technique. I used to study for
Okay.
30 minutes, then I'll take
Okay.
a 5 minutes break, and then I'll start 30 minutes again. And
Okay.
I used to emphasize more on that. When I'm doing the 30 minutes, sir, I would not talk to anyone, or if anyone would be there, I would pause the timer. I'm like, haan, jaldi bolo. I'll tell them what's the work, and then I'll get it done, and I'll pause. Means that was the loyalty which I had with myself, sir. Means I can do like that, that I'll play the 30 minutes and just stare on the screen or just study. That was my choice. And I was like, God will give me the result. I have to be honest to myself. That was what I focused on, doc.
That's great. That's great. That's really fantastic. Now, you said that you revised PYQs in the countdown to the exam, but the exam turned out to be different than from what you
Yes,
had
yes, doc.
anticipated. So now we have discussed a lot of things about what you did for this particular exam. Now, I want you to probe a little bit and tell our students, your colleagues, as to what not to do when you are preparing for such an exam. That is also
Yes, doc.
equally important, I think. Can you
Yes,
elaborate
doc.
on that?
In fact, I would like to emphasize more on that, because that is some things which people don't know. Like, whenever I regularly watch the toppers video and all, and they used to tell, and I used to keep all the tracks on, but no one used to tell what not to do. Mostly people would tell this I had done, but not what, like, I
Right.
would give around 5 things or something, like whatever I would be able to recall right now. First thing is, like, to know the fact that FMG exam or any exam which is there, it is not just one thing. It is a combination of both. It is a combination of marathon as well as a sprint. And in my weakness, what I did was, I think my marathon was well, but I was not able to run properly at the end. I was not
Okay.
able to highlight things properly, which my doctors also suggested me, but I was not able, because of the fear of FOMO. Like, I was like, I wanted to do everything at least 3 times. I was, doc, to be honest, I was able to do barely at the end 3 times. I did the revision of all the subjects. I will not say
Okay.
4 or 5. That I don't think that's even possible. So I was able to do, sir, 3 times. And that FOMO which I had, doc, was like, now I'm able to recall everything. But I know after studying 19 subjects on that day with the anxiety, will I be able to recall? So I did not highlight all the important things. So which
Okay.
made me read everything again, which was
Okay.
one mistake which I would like to tell everyone. Like, once you read again and again revision, keep on reducing that highlighted marks. And the
Okay.
key, doc, the key is not to learn more. The key is to revise. Because, doc, no matter how much we are going to study it, even in this exam, mostly which related topics which even doctors emphasize that this is important, that only comes, doc, to be honest. It's
Right.
just that we were prepared with the pattern that, okay, PYQ. I feel why this exam was tough, and why people also say it's tough, is because people were oriented with the PYQ pattern, and
Right.
not just the generalized pattern of which is important and which is not. So, doc, that was one of the mistakes which I did, was that I was not able to analyze the sprint. Then second thing, doc, which I would advise people from the beginning, which people don't talk about, is the people around you. I would really emphasize the fact that in the beginning itself, only we start analyzing that who are the negative people, and you start pushing them away. Because, doc, I had it in the month of April and end. Like, I used to stress out a lot. Like, I generally have anxiety, and, doc, I started having palpitations. So I was really lucky enough with the people around me. Like, even there were, I won't say that everyone were good, but I would say that the people who were very close to me, doc, they made sure that my preparation was good, doc. And I analyzed that very early, that people who are actually just trying to show me in face that they're good to me, but they're not. So I made them away. Because, doc, mental, it does, because everyone has the same similarity, everyone has the same portion, people have the same brain, people have the same thing. but the mental like system which is there within you, that is that is what matters. Because doc, even like I have seen many people in my batch also who had not a decent result but not that much good, they could have done better just because they were very anxious in the exam. They were not mentally that much prepared because of the people around them. They used to, in the last day of the exams, in the last week, they were like, I haven't done this, did you do this, I haven't done this, and like, no, you cannot do this, we just have to pass. So that thing really mattered, doc, I believe. Because if you're mentally not prepared that yes, I am going to top or I am going to score good, how will you score that much? Because doc, like everyone has the same brain, to be honest, everyone has the same capacity. It's just on you, in your own will, that how will you do it. So I would really emphasize on the fact that when you understand who's a negative, who's a red flag, and keep them away. If there are, if there are true friends, they will understand that yes, this is your study time, they will just support you and they won't push you away. Yes, doc. So that would be another
Just
one.
yes, go ahead, please.
Sorry, doc. Yeah, and another one, doc, would I would be list like, give yourself breaks. That is what I did not do at the end of my in that April time when I had palpitation. I was like stressing up 2 weeks. I used to study for very long hours, and I realized that key, and then I gave myself a good 3 days break, and then I started back again. So that break is really important, doc, because even like, and I would recommend everyone just taking 1 day break in the middle so that you will have a good freshen up. Don't study anything that day. Just take a break. Just be happy of how much have you accomplished. And one technique, doc, which I would share with everyone is that what I did was like, keep every day as a result. Don't keep just the final day as a result. Don't keep 1 week as a result. Every day is your result. Like how I did was, I had in the last 3 months, doc, I made sure that I would study effectively at least 7 to 8 hours. That is the 30 minutes, not that like, because even doc, even when we studied 7 to 8 hours from the beginning, morning to evening, it goes like, I remember like, even if I would have made that in the Pomodoro chart, 7 to 8 hours, 12 hours of my whole day has gone. That includes all the breaks, that includes everything. So I'm not talking about the breaks one, I'm talking about the effective 7 to 8 hours. Because doc, if someone can do 7 to 8 hours, then they will score much better than me. Because I like, doc, I don't feel I'm anything special and all. I just gave the input, I got the result, doc.
So they say that winners really don't do different things, but they do the usual things a little bit more differently. And that is what I can really make out from these small things that you are saying. These are small things, but in the long run, they are going to make a lot of difference. I'll just quickly, in 10 seconds, just quickly summarize and tell my students what not to do in the end. Don't just run behind, don't get that FOMO, right? Plan your last sprint very, very precisely, very accurately. Highlight the high yield points so that you can utilize them towards the end when the time is short. Don't just focus on one stream like a PYQ, because you don't know, the exam might turn out to be the other way. Don't be stressed with long study hours. Give yourself breaks, replenish your neurotransmitters, come back and study with higher yield. Don't cling to negativity, in fact get rid of it, right? That will what something that will help you, perform better. And don't just think about the exams, right? The exams are there, but every day is actually like a test or an exam, and that is what Dr. Angad has done and executed every day. Dr. Angad, tell me, why Marrow? Why would you recommend Marrow to your juniors or those who are preparing for this exam, for the upcoming exam now? Why Marrow?
Doc, honestly, if I will say why Marrow, because Marrow is a complete college of its own. I believe that it's like an entire college of its own. You can literally, if you have no knowledge, you can become a doctor based on just one single app. That is what I believe, because they have literally everything. Even now, the clinical approach has been going good. So then, obviously, for clinicals, you need to attend the hospital rotations and all. But like, I felt that advantage because when I was even in my ophthalmology rotations, I got done. I was done with the video, and my doctors were quite impressed that I knew even more than some of the interns. That was all because of like what Marrow does, because it does, like, I would really recommend everyone to start that as early as I can. Because some people like, you start this, I'm like, you start this also, no? Like, this is nothing different, this is the same thing, but it's in much more simplified. Because doc, I am much more of a like visual learning person rather than a reading book, like reading books. So what I used to do in the beginning was, when I used to because in our exam, in our college, they used to specify small details of the book as well. So what I used to do was, when I was done with a video, then it would be much more easier, it would be much more simple for me to read the book. So why do like people, when they ask like, Bhaiya, what should I choose, book or Marrow? I'm like, why don't you do both? 50-50.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But any parting words to our students before we close this interaction, Dr. Angad? The stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, everyone. And I would just like to say that I'm proudly, proud to say right this now that my name is Dr. Angad Ranjit Rai. I would like to thank Maro. I would like to thank everyone, family members, and as well as at the last, I would like to thank myself as well that I have done this because one thing what people tend to do is not to recognize what they have done. And I would like the, have a mirror in front and always say, this is what my mother also says, tell that yes, I am proud of myself, I can do it, and I will do it.
That's great, Dr. Angad. We, as the entire, on the behalf of entire Marrow family, I want to tell you that we are also very proud of you, and I'm hoping to see you again in that next interview very soon.
Yes.
All right. Chalo,
Yes, doc.
enjoy your success. Take a
Thank you,
break
doc.
and then come
Yes,
back
doc.
with the same vigor.
Yes, doc.
Bye bye,
Thank you so much,
friends.
doc. It was an honor, doc. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine. Friends, there's so much to learn from Dr. Angad. Go through this interview, very carefully. Look at all these small things that he did, and I'm sure it will help you immensely going ahead. Signing off. Bye bye. Good night.